This was more than just a journey, seeking growth in our spirituality. It's our testimony to love, faith, and complete devotion, following the footsteps of the saints and encountering the invisible world. This is our pilgrimage.
We finally left Rome and began our journey on the bus. As we enjoyed the beautiful sights of Italy, we finally made it to the stunning city of Assisi. After settling into our hotel, we made our way to the Basilica of St. Francis. With such a grand building dedicated to St. Francis, the church is separated by the upper and lower basilicas, and with the very tomb of St. Francis in the lower floor. On the other end of Assisi was the church of San Damiano. This is the church that St. Francis restored, where God had spoken to him saying, "Francis, go and repair my church, which you see in ruins." This church also became the home of St. Clare and her followers, known as the Order of the Poor Clares. The Basilica of St. Clare was dedicated to her, and her remains rest on the lower level, along with a display of first and second degree religious artifacts, like clothing used by St. Clare and St. Francis. The basilica also houses the original cross of San Damiano.
Actually, I'd say St. Clare's, sitting there and just kind of taking in the stillness of the place, and being there with other people from the community. Yeah, the stillness was really special, and just thinking that two really amazing saints, sacrificed so much when we were there. Thinking about St. Francis and how much he gave of himself, and the Franciscans they're everywhere around the world today, and just thinking he was the one that started it all, and this is where it started.
My home parish is St. Clare of Assisi, and just to be there and to pray for all of the intentions that some of the parishioners gave me, it was really special to pray them there, especially at the tomb of St. Clare. I really offered up a lot of different struggles that some of the other parishioners have, and just to be able to be there with her, just because even though she is the saint of my parish, I never truly knew her, and to hear about how much conviction she had and how she brought the Eucharist out into the world and ran with it truly reminded me that when I go home, when I leave my parish, I have to bring Jesus with me too, the same way St. Clare did.
As the day came to an end, we concluded our evening with a candlelit rosary, walking through the streets of Assisi. We were completely at peace as we made our way through the empty and beautiful streets of Assisi, and felt the love as spectators and locals watched us in awe. Our last stop in Assisi was the Basilica of St. Mary of the Angels, which also housed the Porciuncula. This is the small church building where the Franciscan order began. This basilica is also home to the rose bush that St. Francis threw himself into in order to combat doubt and temptation, but became thornless upon contact with his body. Along the church, we found a dove and its child, resting in the hands of a statue of St. Francis of Assisi, really attesting to him as the patron saint of animals. We enjoyed another bus ride as we made our way closer to the Adriatic Sea and finally stopping to see the city of Loreto. Here stands the Basilica of the Annunciation and the House of Nazareth. The House of Nazareth is the exact structure where Mary, Joseph, and Jesus lived in. In the time of the early ages, the 3 walls were moved to Loreto in order to keep them safe.
I think it was so beautiful to see that such a place can have such a special meaning, especially in my life. Like my family, I really love my family, and getting the opportunity to really intercede for them in that moment of asking the Holy Family to help me with my family and the unity of my family.
In that moment, I felt like we were such a community, praying together, praying over each other, but at the same time, like you're in your own personal prayer and praying for your family, and just imagining Jesus learning how to walk in this house, touching the walls, and then ourselves touching the walls, and really feeling that presence was really powerful.
Sister guided us, and we all closed our eyes, and we were all squished in the tiny little house, and I had like a very deep prayer moment that I didn't expect to come in contact with Mary, and I started praying for my prayer intentions, but then I ended up just talking about my family and like our relationships and what I want to see happen in the future.
Our trip to Assisi and Loreto was another expansion to encountering the saints and the glorious community they have impacted. We left with a better sense of God's love and love for our family.